Make yourself some tea.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Red Road Paranormal. I'm Christina Bloom, your co host. I'm a professional psychic medium and metaphysical teacher. I am of Alaskan descent, Alaskan Native descent, I should be more clear about that, and a member of the Adirondack Park Paranormal Society. I am also a published author and obviously a podcast host. All right, handing it over to my co host, Rez.
Hey everyone, Resnick here, member of Cryptids Anomaly and the Paranormal Society, otherwise known as Wisconsin Caps. I'm a cryptid investigator, paranormal investigator, obviously podcast host, and all around good engine. What can I say? We have a friend with us you should be getting to know by now, Mr. Shawn Stevens. He's here talk about some teachings with us. How's it going, Shawn?
Well, very good, Rez. Thank you for a wonderful introduction there, as usual. I think it's going really great for me today.
Awesome.
Good.
We always got things we could complain about, but not enough that makes much of a difference anyway. But so things are going really good. Anytime you wake
Good.
up on the right side of the dirt, it's a good day, I'd say.
I agree. It
Uh,
takes more energy to complain than it is just to smile and go through it.
Yep.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
And what you put out there, you get more of anyway. So
That's
might as
true.
well, might as well put out the
Absolutely.
positive vibes.
It is
Exactly.
absolutely true. That is so true. They call it karma or good medicine. What you put out there comes back to you. In some time, one way or another.
Yep.
Um, Sometimes we may not see it, but it's a blessing that's there. That's something that good had come to us, and maybe something good that helped us avoid something, or that would be
Yeah.
negative, but it always comes back. It always does, and that's part of our path and our journey, is learning those things, and uh, one of the things I want to share today is a teaching. Um, I call it a teaching, but it's a practice, and a lot of us, when we have our path, our life journey, our spiritual journey, which are both the same thing, we have questions, and we have obstacles, and how do we get around these things, and a lot of times when we have these issues, we go to an elder or a mentor, who helps talk us through these things. But sometimes not everybody has, that elder or that mentor in their life
Hmm.
that they can go and talk to and get these answers from, you know. Or maybe you do have an elder mentor in your life, but you're going through some things that you really don't care to share, that private part of your life with people, but you're seeking answers, you're seeking guidance. And this teaching, this practice is, I call it the seven elder teachings. A lot of times it can be called a lot of things like the seven grandfather teachings, seven grandmother teachings. But basically what it is where you find that elder mentor, that guru within inside yourself that we all have, and that we're looking for answers, that we don't have, and just well, how do I get to that? How do I handle this situation, or how do I get from where I'm here to where I want to be? How do I get there? How do I do that? Who can I talk to? Well, we have those answers. We all have those answers, within ourselves. And I love this teaching because it's to me the answers when you learn to practice, the answers come real easy. The answers are there. The hard part is what now that you have the answer, what do you got to do with the answer? That's the hard part.
Yep.
Agreed. Agreed.
You know,
Yes.
um, but getting to that answer point, that is so important for us. They like to look at ourselves like if we're standing on the side of a valley. We're on a cliff on the side of a valley, and we can see way on the other side. That's that place that we want to be at. And you want to be there, and you want to get there quick. Nobody's likes to wait too long. So your thought is to like cross, take a shortcut, go right through the valley. What the problem is when you take them shortcuts, You go into that valley, it's like a valley of twisted paths. It just twists you around in a lot of different directions and you get lost, and then when you finally come out, you're at the same place when you entered in the first place. The plan is that you need to take the long way around. Plan for taking a long way around because our spirits, our spirit guides, they're there and they'll leave things on our path for us if we're patient enough to wait for them. We need to pick those things up, those tools that we need to use to get to that place. And so patience is one of the biggest things, and not trying to take shortcuts. Shortcuts, it doesn't work that way. And whatever it is, whether we're looking at something that's spiritual, something in our career, whatever it is, we're looking for those answers, and shortcuts just aren't going to make it, to get there in a solid way. So, like, what do we do? Okay. Now, I had a mentor. I have many mentors, but some of my chief mentors are Ojibwe and Medewan members, and they bring these teachings and they share with them. And they tell you the same thing. It's like, I'm sharing a teaching, but I'm not teaching you anything. Whether you learn something, it's on you to learn. You know, I can't teach you anything. It's up to you to learn you know, and I'm not going to be responsible for you to learn either. You got to be, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and these teachings, you're not enlightened at the end. It becomes a practice that you have to utilize in life experience. That's where the true teaching comes when you come through them life experiences where you utilize those tools, you know. And so I like to tell people, like, don't expect to be just enlightened at the end of the teaching. You got to put it into a practice, and then you'll start seeing things change once you start putting the work and the effort into it.
It is amazing to
And
me how many people skip that.
Yep.
yeah, 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 like it's like I'll have a lot of people like they'll want certain teachings and stuff, so I'll give them some, and I'm like, oh, okay, what else can you teach me? Like, you haven't even really learned what I taught you in the first place. You got to really go out and see, utilize those tools to see that they are valid, workable tools to work for you. It's not just going to change. There's no magic wands. That's just going to say poof. Now you have strength, or poof. Now you have knowledge and wisdom. Oh, you got to gain those things. But how? How do we gain those things? When we're seem to be lost or have people, or maybe it's something so private that we don't want to really put out there for other you know. And one of my teachers, he come from the Ojibwe people of Ontario. He gave me the teaching, so I'm gonna teach you something, and I'm gonna teach you it in a way it's a little different than the way our people learn the teaching. He said, but the result is the same. He's like, I'm going to save, that teaching, that is meant for my people, for our people, but you can do the teaching and how you can figure out how to relay that message. And the message is still the same in the end, but to protect, I don't want to say rights or anything like that, but the sacredness of their own teachings. I teach it in different ways, you know. But the teaching is like, okay, how do I find this out? And the teaching starts with a story. And if anybody out there listening, if you have a pad of paper and a pen, you should have that ready, to take some notes and such. This would be good for you. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I have mine
Uh,
too.
the teaching starts with a story. The story is where there was this long time ago, there was this young boy and lived amongst his people, and there was a lot of problems amongst his people. A lot of the people were divided. People couldn't agree with one another. People were harming one another, trying to screw one another over to try to get up above, try to be above, do more for themselves and less for other people. And it was just not a good time of unity. There was a lot of chaos going on with the people. But this
Sounds
boy
like the
became,
world we live in right now.
it is, it is, and that's why a lot of these teachings are to be shared now in this time, because we've got that sign that we talked about before, the white
Hmm.
buffalo cap, such that We need to start leaning back on those old teachings on how to live life for ourselves and community, family, and the whole world community, you know. But the story starts out there's this little boy living in troubled times with his people. He became really sick, very ill. And he became so ill that, his parents, they invited the medicine people over to try to help, to try to cure him and such. And I know, have you guys ever heard of like when people become so ill that they have out of body experiences, their
Hmm.
Yep.
spirit leaves and
Been
such,
there, done that. Yep.
Right. Well, this boy's spirit came out of his body, and he's standing there and he's watching, his parents and the medicine people, work on him and try to heal him and such. And he's standing there just observing, and watching. And uh, his parents are very upset and very worried, and the medicine people are doing what they can. Well, what happens is a Manadu enters the room, and a Manadu is a higher being spirit, what we call it's different spirit than like what you and I would have as a soul or a spirit. This is a higher being spirit. I guess you could relate it to an angel. An angel. What is a manadu is a higher spirit. Came into the room and he talked with the little boy, and he told the little boy, he's like, there's something I want to take you and show you, something that's gonna help you and your people. And so the little boy agreed with him, and Manitou took the little boy, and he took him up to the Creator's lodge, into heaven, if that's what you want to call it, to the Creator's lodge. And they entered the lodge. They seen that there was six elders sitting in a circle, like in a half moon circle, and in front of every one of those elders there was a vessel, like a vase, with a cloth over the top. And the Manitou told the little boy, he said, you go up to that first elder and ask that elder if you can see what they have in that vessel. So the little boy goes up to the first elder and says, excuse me, grandfather, but can I see what you have inside the vessel? And the grandfather, he smiles and he removes the cloth from the top of that vessel. The little boy peers in. And what the little boy witnesses was all these wonderful colors and these sounds and fragrances, all these things that really heightened the senses, and everything it was sheer beauty, what was inside this vessel. Just watching it, and he was absorbing all of these things that was in the vessel. And watching that little boy, you seen that he grew just a little bit, you know. And it was done. The grandfather closed the vessel, and the little boy came back to the Manitou. The Manitou told him to go to that second elder and ask that elder if you can see what's inside that vessel. And so little boy does the same thing. He goes up and says, excuse me, grandmother, but can I see what you have inside that vessel? And she does the same thing. She smiles and she opens it up, and same thing happens. All this beauty and these wonderful things that this little boy is watching and he's absorbing, and he's taking it all in as it's radiating from the vessel. And same thing, that little boy grows a little bit more. So he comes back to the Manitou. The Manitou keeps telling him to go back to each elder and asking the same thing. Now, by the time he got to the sixth elder, as if the little boy now was a young man. And by the time he went up to the last elder and he asked elder, said, excuse me, grandfather, but can I see what you have in that vessel? Same thing happens. Opens it up, and the young man's absorbing everything that's inside this vessel. But what happens is he goes from being a young man to a very old grandfather, long white hair, very old, and when the grandfather closes the vessel and he comes back to the Manitou says, okay, now you're ready. And he takes that grandfather and he takes him back down to the earth where that little boy's body is there, and his medicine people and his parents are still there trying to work and help him to recover. And he puts that grandfather, who was the little boy at first, and he puts that grandfather back into the body of that little boy. And when that little boy awoken, he awoke and he was healed. But when he came awoke, he was enlightened. He had a grandfather's spirit inside of him, and he became a great help to his people. He would help his people. He would counsel his people. People would come to him with questions, and he would give them answers on all these things that they needed to, because he knew what life was all about. He was enlightened, to that point, and he helped everyone, you know, and I say they lived happily ever after or anything like that, but that was that part of the story. This little boy somehow grew enlightenment from these vessels, and he grew with this grandfather spirit inside of himself, with the knowledge and the wisdom that grandfathers and grandmothers have. And my teacher says to me, is like, well, wouldn't it be nice, if we could have something like that that would help us grow, you know? It wouldn't be nice if we could do that. And I was like, yeah, that would be great. And he's like, well, we can. And the thing is, what you have to understand is what is in those vessels. You know, it said that each vessel has each one of them. And the first one, now what I want you to do is write on your piece of paper, number one, what this first vessel was called. The first vessel was called respect. Now, when the little boy went up and he looked into this vessel of respect, he absorbed everything what respect was about. And it's so vast. It's so vast. It's not just something you can explain with a couple sentences and such. You can write whole volumes on what respect is about. Whether, it's respecting other people, respecting their ways of life, respecting their political views, their sexual orientation, their their favorite football team, whatever. Respecting all these towards respecting the earth, respecting the planet, respecting everything, and understanding these things. And there's so much about respect, but also there's kind of a flip side of the coin, or I don't want to say flip side of the coin, another aspect to the vessels. Because when we think of these things, we always think about these things in an outward fashion, but we do not only supposed to think of them outwardly, you got to think of them inwardly as well. So not only respecting everything out there, you got to have self-respect as well. You know, I always say respect doesn't mean kissing ass to somebody, just giving them what they want, just so you don't upset anybody. You got to have self respect too, giving people respect, but also allowing to have that respect come back to you at the same time. Okay. And he said, now the second one, number two, said the next one is patience. The next one is called patience. And same thing, having patience. Patience with other people, with your family, your loved ones, your co-workers, with your pets, with nature, with everything. Having patience, and that the virtue of it all and what you need. Because that's one of the biggest things you're going to need on a spiritual journey is patience. You know? And again, not only outwardly, but inwardly. You got to have patience with yourself as well. It's so easy to do some of these things outwardly, but it's well, almost seems twice as hard to do them inwardly. To being patient with yourself. You know, you got to be kind to that person in the mirror. In other words, to always give them that support and such that we need. Too many oftentimes that we're really mean to that person in the mirror. We say things that we shouldn't say, you know, and you got to treat that person in the mirror like it's your best friend or your loved one. So when you're having issues or whatever, instead of saying things like, "Oh, geez, you're just stupid," what the heck's wrong with you? That was a dumb thing. You wouldn't do that to your loved ones or your friends. What would you say to your friends? That's how you got to treat yourself. You know, Number three is truth. You write down truth. Being truthful. Speaking the truth. I always love that saying: when you speak the truth, you never have to remember anything other than the truth. It's just the way it is. But you also have to be truthful within yourself, coming backwards. A lot of people like to avoid looking into this vessel because either one thing, they're afraid of what they'll find in there, or they already know what's in there and they just kind of want to ignore it. But you can't ignore it. You have to look into that vessel of truth, and being truthful, not outwards, but to yourself. We as human beings, we're the most gullible person we know because we'll make ourselves believe anything if we want it bad enough. So you really got to
Yeah.
Yeah.
keep yourself in check. So it's like, is this truly what you feel, or is it just something that you want? You know, and really kind of go over it with yourself, because then when you start thinking, wow, okay, now we're getting down to some truth here. Okay, okay, so we got respect, patience, truth, faith. Faith, number four. Having faith in others, having faith in a higher power, maybe having faith in all that is out there. A lot of with energy work and stuff. It has a lot to do with faith. Faith is what really empowers you. If you don't have that faith,
Mhm.
then it's a weakness when you second guess those things. But having faith really amplifies the power of what you're putting out there you know, and just again, it's not just an outwardly thing, it's an inwardly thing. Having faith in yourself, not telling yourself that you can't do this or you can't do that or what. Giving yourself faith, within reason of what those things that you're looking for, that you're searching for. Okay. So respect, patience, truth, faith, love. Number five. Love is loving things, you know. And it's not a love like say two partners would have for each other. It's just that universal love of everything and appreciation of of everything outwardly, also inwardly. And people will ask me, well, how do you love yourself? So well, there's that person in the mirror. You treat them like they're one of your loved ones or your best friend. How would you treat them when they're having a hard time, when they're having issues? How would you show them love? You know that easily. Perfect. Well, you should do the same for yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. That's one of the most terrible things you can do is not having love for yourself. You know, and people who don't have love for themselves really put themselves in terrible, terrible positions and relationships, whether it's with significant others or their job or even family. You know, you got to have love for yourself and not let yourself be walked on. It's like self-respect as well. You know, so if you see someone of your loved ones or your friends being disrespected, or treated, poorly, you've got to, what would you do for that friend? How would you help them? That's how you got to help yourself. That's how you got to love yourself. Don't do anything for other people that you wouldn't do for yourself as well. A lot of people, they have an issue with that because they want to give, but not, give towards themselves as well. And that comes to me. The next one would be number six is sacrifice. Now, some people don't like the word sacrifice because it sounds like you're like slitting goats' throats or something on an altar or something.
Yeah, no, I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Right. But sacrifice just means giving up something that you feel of value, giving it up for a greater good. Um, and sometimes so you could be sacrificing time. Maybe it might be some money, that you're letting go of something that you hold of value, for a greater good. Or sometimes sacrificing can be something, that doesn't serve you, but you know, how would I explain that? Something like, say, like smoking. Like, man, I love smoking. I love it. You know, to give that up would be a sacrifice. Giving something up that I enjoy, taking something that really doesn't serve me, but that I can give away. I can give up. You know, and in the end, you become rewarded when you do those sacrifices. Whether your sacrifice is an offering. Put it that way. It's an offering. And it could be like tobacco, giving your offering of tobacco. Tobacco is, in a native community is very highly thought of and highly valued and stuff. It isn't something that you just go slinging around anywhere to anything. You give that's an offering up to the spirit world to gift to them and hopes for something in return. You know, and sacrificing going inward. Sometimes you need to sacrifice inward for yourself. And I like to say, like, a good way of saying is, you work hard so much, so long, and you just don't take any time for yourself. Maybe sometimes you gotta sacrifice a day of work and just go fishing. It's like, you know what? I need to sacrifice to myself as well. I need to do that for me. Because like I say, so many people give, 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 but they don't give to themselves. And the well will run dry if you don't replenish.
You don't say.
So when you keep
Yeah.
giving, so you got to, so sacrificing some things for a greater good or an offering. That's why I say maybe offering is a better word to use. And like I said, a lot of people look at the word a whole lot differently. But offering to yourself, you know, and through all of those things, my mentor told me is like, if you can figure out, if you can absorb all of those things, like the little boy did, you'll know what life is all about. You'll have the answers for everything. And he said, it's when you look at the six vessels, you can kind of look at the directions as well. You got east, west, north, south, earth, sky, but there's one more vessel that ties, or there's one more direction that ties them all together, and that's here, the center, from east to west, north, south, earth, sky. Then there's a center. They're all connected. They're all connected there, and we call that the seventh direction. We call in the spirits and, for our fire or for our pipes, we call them into the seventh, all those directions to the seventh directions becomes the center. Now, in taking these vessels, all of these vessels are all connected into a seventh vessel as well. Now, that seventh vessel is called knowledge and wisdom. It's number seven. But most importantly, is that you are that seventh vessel. You're the one that all those vessels are to be tied into, to be connected to, you know. And when you have those things, you go through your issues. If you have an issue, you kind of look at it like the little boy and say, okay, I've got these six vessels in front of me. I need to peer into each one of them. And I need to try to absorb, what's in those vessels outwardly and inwardly as well. Um, and I can't skip any of them. Respect is always number one. It's always number one. And in the end, tying them all together, you're finding that knowledge and wisdom, which is in your vessel. You are that seventh vessel that connects them all together. Okay. And that is what we're looking for. We're looking for the knowledge. We're looking for the wisdom. And when you go through there and you find your answer, you don't stop. You keep going just to make sure there might be something in another vessel there as well. You go through them all. And when you go through them all, looking outwardly and looking inwardly, you're going to find your answer on what you need. And as I said before, it's not enough um, that you find the answer. It's what do you do with the answer? You know, a lot of times that hard, like I say about those hard answers, come from that vessel of truth. You know, It's like, okay, now I got my answer. And it's not always gonna be, sunshine, and daisies, on what your answer is, what you have to do. But doing it is part of, like I said, that sacrifice or that offering in employing that answer. And when you do it, you'll be rewarded. And even though it's a very hard thing to do, you'll be rewarded because you know it's what needs to be. Um, could be that vessel of love, could be that vessel of respect, could be so many things. But the thing is, I love so much is when you get the answer, you found it. And nobody can tell you any differently, because this is you peering into those vessels. You, like that little boy, we can't grow as fast as that little boy. But the whole thing about it is growth, like spiritual growth, and growth of our own spirit, finding that inner guru, that inner grandfather, that inner grandmother, you know, and you go through them. You imagine yourself like that little boy going up to the first vessel, going up to the second, all the way to number six. And by the time you're done with number six, you should have your answer. You know, now there's another way. Now I don't know if you have room next to those written down, but I want you to write number one through six again. Just number one through six. And on number one, you will put respect. Respect is always number one. And this is what I love the most about the teaching is my mentor told me, like when he told me the teachings, he gave me some different things than what I've told you. But he said, this is what is for my people, me and my people. This is what we need. He said, but number two through six, he says, that's up to you to decide what it is you need. It might not be the same things. It could be something different. You know yourself better than anybody else and what you need. You know what you need to get from here to that other place on the other side. You know, some people would rather use things like humility, or some people will say like honesty, honesty and truth. Like to me, I was like, well, honesty and truth is kind of like the same thing. Well, I'll say, well, no, not really. They'll have a way of thinking about it, and that's cool as long as that makes sense to them. That it is two different things, and it might be two different things that they need to work on. It's what you need, what your spirit tells you what you need to get from here to there. You know, maybe one of them is forgiveness. You know, being able to forgive outwardly, being able to forgive inwardly. Or maybe you can take some of these things and make them side categories of number one through six. But what's important is that you figure out for yourself what's number two through six, because you know yourself better than anybody else. But I'll tell people, until you figure that out, use what I've given you already. Okay, now you can go through and say, well, nah, sacrifice really isn't, I don't think that's something that's really that I'm needing at this point or whatever. Maybe it is forgiveness or something different. That's what I'm going to use. That's that vessel that I need for me, that I need to get from here to there, you know, and it just opens up a whole world of possibility, but respect is always number one. It's always number one. And in the end, number seven, your vessel is knowledge and wisdom. It'll always be knowledge because you're like the little boy. Every time you peer into them, you're pouring more into your own vessel, and you're gaining knowledge and you're gaining wisdom. And the answers come. They come very easily. And like I tell people, this is something so important is that whether you can get like a little index card or something, uh, write these on that index card or a little piece of paper and hang it on your mirror, or maybe have it right next to your desk, uh, on the refrigerator. You got to have it somewhere where you're going to see it every day. And before we're done here, I'll probably repeat that like 5 freaking times because people don't do it. And
Mhm.
I don't blame
Yeah.
people because I didn't do it at first either, you know. And I remember after we got that teaching, it was like, oh, okay, because he came and he talked to our drum and gave the teaching to everybody. It was really awesome. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, teaching, mark that one off. But then it was like months later, he just happened to call out of the blue, and it was during a time that all of us on the drum, we were having like some issues, like belief systems and stuff, and how to go about one of the a special funeral that was coming up. And then a lot of people were all like at odds, like, "Oh, you can't do that. No, that's not just can't do that. It's not the way." And blah 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 blah. And we were, a lot of us were getting pissed at each other, and it looked like we might end up like this might be an issue that might split us all up. But he called, and he's like, "How's it going?" He's Canadian. Like, "How's it going, guy?" you know. It's funny. It's funny because dude looks just like Sitting Bull. That stoic, really scary kind of like native looking, but he's just got the softest voice and very, very nice guy. Very nice guy.
I think I
And I
know what you're
told,
talking about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He says, he's like, and I told him what was going on, and he's like, he's like, he's like, when I came down there, several months ago, I gave you guys them sovereign elder teachings. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. He's like, yeah, he's like, I gave you guys some teachings, it's like, but apparently none of you got it. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, and it was just like, I thought I did. And he's like, but because if you guys would have got it, you wouldn't have these problems right now. You wouldn't be going through this. He's like, you go back and you think about those teachings that I gave you, and go back and remind the drum, about those teachings, you know, and then see where it goes from there, you know. And I did it, and we all really thought about it, and we came to a really amazing, uh, answer to what we were trying to do and trying to come together by each one of us going through all of those things, and really looking at, the cause, effect, how we're feeling, what we're trying to, convey with one another and being patient with one another and listening and all that stuff, rather than just having ego attitude, or knee jerk reactions and stuff. And it solved it. It solved it real fast. And the thing he told me is like, what you got to do is you got to take these teachings and put them up where you see them every day. Because like when you're having a bad time, and that when you could use them the most, you're not going to go dig them out of some drawer or anything, sit there. Because usually when you're in a bad spot, people usually, that's not exactly what everybody does right away. They sit and they fester, and the problems, get worse. If there's not some reminder there to say, hey, peer into this, find the answer. Find the answer, whether it can be an answer for all of you or just an answer for yourself. But if you don't have them up there, you're not going to see them all the time. And that was, I think, the problem what we had, that we took it, but then we didn't really think about it later when the shit was hitting the fan, and we needed to have that answer, and we needed to have that guidance. And here all along we've had that guidance, but we haven't been using it because it was out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, you know. But having them there, like I said, like uh having it on an index card somewhere. Some people like write things on a mirror or a vision board or somewhere, but it's got to be somewhere you see it every day, and if it's there every day, they'll start talking to you, and helping you through the things that you need, and if you don't, you're not going to think about it, you know, and so that's what I started doing. And I like to warn people. Sometimes people they're like, well, I'm an artist, and I like to do a painting that kind of does all that, or do like this montage of all these different, rocks and stones, and that's, I think that's what I'm gonna do, for my altar and blah 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 blah. Like, okay, that's fine. He said, but until you do that, hang these up.
Mhm.
because I'm an artist too. I thought the same thing, and it took me months before I could really think of something that I put it into. But till you get that done, make sure these are up somewhere that you can see it every day. You see it every day, you're gonna have your problems are gonna start being solved. Well, your answers are you're gonna find answers. Solving the problem is what you do with the answers, though. Like I said, when you find the answer, really nobody, not the Pope or the Dalai Lama or anybody can tell you any different. You found the answer. You've discovered it. Instead of having to take somebody's word, well, just like, well, just do this because of whatever, whatever, and it might not make sense, but okay, well, you're an elder. I guess I've got to either take what you say as right or wrong and not really feel the rightness or wrongness within inside myself. I want to be able to come across an answer that makes sense, and that there's really no question about it, you know. And so that's why you have these things. I used to take like a little stick, about that big, and cut it into little wood shavings, wood uh circles, and I'd have them all written kind of like in that half circle. And I had them on my desk all the time, all the time for whenever I just happen to, I don't know, read an email or something kind of makes me mad or upset or something happens and they're right there. And then they start speaking to me, you know. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what I needed. Instead of taking 3, 4 days of feeling like crap and not knowing what to do. And I look over here and boom, I've got an answer, and then I got to work towards what I'm going to do with that answer. And it's gotten to a point where it's worked for me so much that I still have them, but I still think about them all the time. Anytime an issue or something comes up, what are my elder teachings? What are my virtues? What are these things that I need to go through? And it always starts with respect. And you look at all of these things, you look at them outwardly, and most importantly, you look at them inwardly as well. So these virtues going outwards, you also have to do for in yourself as well. you know, and you can't skip any of them. Even if you think you found an answer in one of them, just continue and do the rest, because like I said, when you're here and you want to be there, a lot of these things are going to help you accelerate along that long way around. You can climb a mountain by baby steps, you know, and as long as you're doing it in a patient way, you're going to get to where you need to be. You're going to get there. You will get there, but, how do I get there? You start looking at these things you've got written out, in
Mhm.
your own personal set that you put out there as well. You're going to get the answer how to get there, you know, and especially you're going to get the guidance, and the consultation, of be patient for one. So that is so huge. I always tell people, whatever you write for your own, patience is a good one to put on there, because we can be really impatient with others, or even so, more so impatient with ourselves, which just causes a domino effect of things crumbling down. Then we're saying bad things about ourselves and not being kind to ourselves and not treating ourselves good, so having that works a lot. Truth is another one,
Yeah.
another big one. Sometimes you got to look in that vessel of truth, whatever it is, and say, wow, I've got a decision to make. And that's the answer there. That's the answer. The answer kind of say, okay, that's good. Or say, wow, the answer kind of sucks, but it's the truth, and I'm going to have to do it, But in the
Yeah.
end, good will come if I let that go, if I offer that off as a sacrifice, of letting that go, you know. So each time when you're sitting down and you're looking, you're growing like the little boy, you're growing spiritually. And your vessel of knowledge and wisdom is growing even more and more, becoming more full, and then people will come and ask you, about certain things. And these are things that you just have ingrained in you. And it helps you, It's like, well, how about forgiveness, or whether it's forgiving yourself or forgiving other people. And there's so much that goes with each one, even forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean that makes whatever something happened okay. It just means that you're no longer going to let that issue have control over you anymore, or maybe it's forgiving yourself. Sometimes we're very hard on ourselves for things we've done or said in the past, but as long as you recognized it and you make amends for it, you need to go forward without letting that drag you down, with holding you back, you know. So the key of going outwardly and inwardly is very, very important. Now, that's from getting here to there. Okay. Let's say we're here and here's another spot where we don't want to end up. How do we not end up at that spot? Well, that's easy. You avoid the opposites of these teachings. You avoid the opposite, of being, you avoid being disrespectful, of being impatient, of being untruthful, of not having faith, of not showing love, or and all these things. If you do those things, you're definitely going to end up where you don't want to be, you know. So it's always, make sure here's where I am, here's where I want to be. And these are the tools, these are some of the tools that are going to help me get to that place, and give me contentment along the path, you know, that, being patient, sure, I'd like to have everything right now, but, it's so important that the journey is equally, if not more important than the destiny, you know.
Yep.
You can't just get there. The journey is so important, and what you learn. A lot of things, you're gonna have a lot of accomplishments and you're gonna have a lot of failures, but they're all learning and growth opportunities. Even a failure is a growth opportunity, and
Yep.
not look at it as something, oh geez, that sucked, now I'm kind of screwed. No, you're not. You use it as a learning opportunity to grow from it, you know and so it's programming your mind to have that positive outlook, and always, feeding that inner spirit of yours, giving yourself that guidance, giving yourself that push, and consultation of knowing that you're going to get there. You're going to get it. You're going to get there. You're going to do it. As long as you follow what you've got here, you're going to make it, and you're going to see it, bloom, blossom, and keep happening for you along the path. Even understanding that there's going to be setbacks here and there and such, but it's going to happen because you're following it and you're giving that that energy to it happening. You know, and so this teaching, like I said, it's something that you can't just be enlightened at the end. It takes life experience. You got to take it as a practice for your life journey, and that's where you're just gonna say, "Wow, it works." It does work.
Mhm.
It's happening. And maybe you're thinking of something in your mind that's kind of making sense with it now, or how it could make sense. Or something that's going to come a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. It's a practice. You know, and once you get your number 2 through 6, you might be able to figure that out in a night. You might be able to figure it out. It might take you a week, a month. Doesn't matter. Once you got your numbers, if you decide to change it later, that's okay. It's yours. It's what you need. It's what you need. And if you've done enough of one, you change it up or whatever. That's all up to you to figure it out. It's for you. That's what I love, is that it makes it so open, and to evolve and change with you on your journey and on your path. You know. And so for me, it's given me all the answers I've ever needed. It's helped me find contentment in life. I never try to look for happiness, because happiness is kind of temporary. You can be happy one day and then just somebody come along and just ruin your whole day. But contentment, no, is, to me, the difference is contentment knows, it means that that you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have bad days, but you're still going to be in a place where things are going good. You know, you understand. Think you're going to have your setbacks. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. And but your bad days aren't going to stay. They're not going to be there forever. The sun always comes out again. You know, and but with happiness, people just think, well, if I just had this, I'd be happy. And nobody seems to be happy all the time. But to be content, you can have setbacks and stuff, and still be content with your journey, with your path, with your life and stuff. And so I always tell people, look for contentment rather than happiness. Because when you're content, you find that you're happy more often, you know.
Yep.
And happiness is like that watermelon seed. You think you got it, then boop, it's gone. And then you have a bad day until you get that grip back again. That's contentment to me. So it's really programming your mind for the positive things, funneling all of that positive energy into positive virtues, and also being kind to that person every day in the mirror. Even though we've got people who give us, a lot of pats on the back and compliments and well wishing, whatever. We've got to do that for ourselves as well. We have to, because if we don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. People tell us, "Oh, well, you're doing this so great," and whatever. But if you're just thinking, "Oh no, I'm just stupid. I ain't got it," whatever, you're gonna make yourself believe that. you know. So if you're going to believe yourself in anything, then you might as well tell yourself good things, and the
Yeah.
possibilities of good things that can happen, and they are out there. We all know, we're all evolved enough to know that the more positive energies you put into things, that the more positive things are going to come back. You put negativity out there, you're going to get negative back, you know.
Yeah.
And to me, it's
Hmm.
almost, I know it's not like such a simple switch to flip on for people, but you got to practice it.
It's
It's like a workout, like like
it's a
working
daily
out,
practice.
right? You're not going to get stronger without working out, you know. So you have to, and so you put it in your daily practice. You're going to get stronger. You're going to find these things. The answers are going to come. You're going to find that contentment, and life just seems to change. And then, you see so many people out there who are so negative. And people are like, "Oh, FML, everything bad happens to me. My life is just crap and whatever, whatever." And that's how they are every day, day in, day out. And
Well,
they
Well,
refuse
that's
to,
what they're creating.
yeah, that's what they're
right.
looking at.
They
Yeah.
create,
Hmm.
that's the bath water you soak yourself in, you
Yep.
know. Well, you gotta change it, and I know it's not that easy to do it right away, but you've got to try. And nobody can do it for you. Nobody's gonna come in and rescue you. Nobody's gonna come. There's no fairy godmother gonna come along with a magic wand and just poof make you what you want to be.
Oh man,
That's not
really? You just
Sorry,
right.
burst my
Krez.
Right.
bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was. I'd asked for that, 40 years ago.
Next
But
year, you
this
tell me
whole
there's no Santa Claus.
oh well,
We're not going to
belief
say
is
that. We're not going to say that.
yeah, truth is in the heart of the believer. If you believe
Yes,
so, then it's true. If you don't, well, then I guess not. But doesn't matter what others think, it's what you think.
that's right.
So this is a practice that I encourage you guys. Like I said, write them down, put them somewhere. Not tomorrow, not the next day. You put them somewhere today where you're going to see it every day, where you're going to see it, whether, like I said, in the bathroom, on the mirror, on the refrigerator, next to your computer, something, where you're going to see it daily, and these are the things, when you're have those things going in your mind, you just happen to go by and like, "Oh, hey, let me look at this," and the answers come. I guarantee the answers will come,
Yeah, I know
and
you.
so it's
I know you told me about this teaching about probably about 10, 12 years ago. And at the time, I was constantly on the road driving. I had them posted up all around my rearview mirror. So 'cause
yeah,
that's where I spent most of my time, and it works. It really
yeah,
does.
yeah. Because it's a lot of self-care, and
Hmm.
self-maintenance, and when you keep doing it, you only get better, you know. So that's the teachings, the seven elder teachings. To find that elder mentor guru within inside yourself, but to find the answers that you're looking for. When you got the answers, then you got to employ what it takes to, what those answers are.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, like you said, we're hard on ourselves as is. So it's not like a religion or anything. Well, how are you doing on yours? Let me judge you on what you're doing. It's nobody else's business, it's for you. And
Right.
it's not your business to judge other people on theirs either, you know. And so it's all
Precisely.
about self,
Yeah.
you know. So I implore people to use this teaching, especially those who are trying to find out answers. Where do I go in life? How do I do this? What do I do? What are the tools? This is a tool. These are tools that you can use, and you'll get more tools down the road, that are going to help. and help enhance what you're doing. And it's like building that that souped up vehicle that you need to get you from here to there. You're gonna get it. So again, put them up somewhere. I warned you I was gonna keep saying it. Put them up somewhere today. Don't wait. You
Yes,
wanna make an
Mhm.
artist, rendition of it or whatever, that's fine, but until you get that done, make sure these are up where you can see them every day, because otherwise it's not gonna work. You're not gonna go dig them out of the drawer when you're having a rough time. You're not. Or you're not
Right.
even gonna think about it.
Exactly.
But when they're there, they will speak to you. They will.
Yeah. Well, thank
So
you, Shawn. Thank you for sharing this. I know this is a teaching that I heard probably, I'm going to say 30 plus years ago, and then have heard it again, obviously, since. And it is a really important thing that people understand that we did not come here to hate ourselves. We
right.
didn't come here to put ourselves down. We didn't come here to fail. Although failing isn't a bad thing because it teaches you how to move on to not
Failure
fail.
can be
To
good. Yeah.
yeah,
well,
um,
you never truly
yeah,
fail until you quit trying.
exactly,
Yeah, and as
exactly.
long as you fall on your face when you're failing, you're
Mm-hmm.
still getting forward momentum. You're still moving
Because you're
forward
still
on
moving
your journey.
forward. Yeah,
Exactly. You got to
exactly.
remember that.
Yep, because you're still moving forward. So thank you for sharing this. I know that there are probably a lot of people who are going to listen to this who have not heard it, at least not put
Yep.
this way. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. You're
Yes.
very welcome. Very welcome. And that's
Yeah.
you get it, and it helps and it works, and then I'll always say I never charge anybody for that. All I ask for is that you share it with other people. There's a lot of people out there who need it,
That's true.
and the answers are right
Yep.
there. They're right there.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
it's not somewhere you got to go off and pay thousands of dollars, to a counselor or anything to help you. You've got all you need. You've got all you need to help you get you through it.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. For all of you who are listening, watching, whatever, remember to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we post a new episode. And thank you, Shawn, for being back here again. Very much appreciated. And I know you're going to be coming back again, I think every month now for a while, aren't you? Is that what
I
we
think
have
so.
set
Yeah.
up? Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's what we're talking about. But
Yeah.
also, I'd like to tell everyone that's been listening or watching this, share it. Share it
Yes.
to your friends and family.
Share,
Blast
share,
it all
share.
over. Make it go viral because this is something that really could help all of us in this world that we live in nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
This is good medicine, good teachings that everyone needs to hear.
Yep.
So please share this episode, let people know about it, and let's get start helping one another.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. And again, well, we'll see you next time. Thanks, Shawn. Thanks, Rez.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Bye bye.